So it's all well and good to say, like, well, you should go and work as soon as your kid's born. But some people find more value in raising children.
Yeah.
You know, some women do, some men do. And it's their choice.
There's nothing wrong with that.
You know. But at the same time, you shouldn't undersell yourself and think, well, I can't do this job because I'm a woman, or not be given the opportunity to do so.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Small Talk Japan. On this podcast, we talk about all things Japan in English. My name is Mitch, and these are my co-hosts,
Natsuki.
And Alex.
Now, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the news recently, but someone said something he shouldn't have said in the news.
What?
Yeah, let's talk about this, guys. So we have a leader from the I think the top of the Olympics committee said that a lot of the meetings for the Olympics, for the 2021 Olympics, go on for a long time because of the women in the meetings like to talk too much.
Like me?
Wait a minute. No. That can't be right. Because are there any women in the meetings? That's what I'm talking about. So who's he talking about? That's what I want to know, man. You know.
Dude, I was like, okay.
How many people are in the group?
We don't know. We just know that he just like, how old is this guy? What's his name?
83.
83. Okay.
Or
Yeah.
84.
84,
or 82.
right?
Yeah.
And so, like, this guy, first of all, he's a dinosaur. I'm pretty sure he doesn't even know where he is when he's talking. Mr. Mori-san, right?
Yeah. He used to be the prime minister, right?
Yeah.
He used to be the prime
10
minister.
years ago,
Yeah.
maybe.
And so, I don't know. I was just looking at this and I was just thinking to myself, what is she? Okay, the headline from the Washington Post. Tokyo Olympics chief says women talk too much at meetings, calls it annoying. You know, and this reminded me of another comment that was made before that about spreading coronaviruses. I forgot who said it. When somebody was like, you know, the reason why, here it is. Osaka mayor draws ire after saying women are slow shoppers. So the mayor of Osaka was saying that corona is spreading in Osaka because women were chatting to each other at the supermarket.
Seriously.
And you're just like, don't they know that it's like 2021? They're not supposed to say stuff like this anymore.
I know. There's some, like, you know, badly thought out things that people have said, but you'd think like you'd control it a bit if there's a bunch of press in front of you. You know, even if you did think that, right, which is dumb in itself, you'd like shut the up, right? If there was loads of press people in front of you with microphones.
And they're recording everything, right?
Everything, yeah.
I remember, there was also during the great earthquake and the Fukushima disaster, I remember, I forgot who it was, but one of those politicians was in front of all the cameras, and he was like, oh yeah, we're totally going to help Fukushima. We're here from Tokyo. Don't worry about us. And then the cameras go off, but one of the guys kept recording. And the dude's like, oh my God. He's like, you guys aren't doing your job. You guys are assholes, blah, blah, blah. He just started going off on the poor Fukushima, like, local government. And that was on the news, like, the next day. And I'm like, don't you guys understand how, like, microphones and cameras work?
Yeah. Now, you get some weird people blurting things out. So I was at a tourism event, like, a couple of years back. I think maybe it was 2 years ago or something. And this guy from the Japanese side was there talking to all these foreign, you know, travel industry people.
Yeah.
And he did quite an all right speech, actually. Got to the end of it, he was saying, come back to Japan. We're, you know, welcoming you. We've got a rich history and culture. And at the end of the speech, after he'd just finished and it was okay, he just blurted out, spend all your money in Japan. And everybody just kind of looked at each other like, what?
But that's still, like, harmless.
It's harmless, right? Yeah. But it didn't need to be said, is what the point was, right?
Yeah,
So,
but okay, Natsuki. So we're talking shit right now. What do you think about these old guys? Mostly, it almost always are these old men.
Yeah.
Who just seem to You know what I mean? They just kind of say things. And I think if this was maybe 50 years ago, maybe no one cares. They just like ignore them. Like,
Right.
okay, grandpa's talking. But now we have like media.
Yeah.
So it's like all over the internet. How do you feel about
I think
this?
Mr. Mori did a good job. Because you gotta listen to me.
Okay, I'm
because
listening.
he proved himself that he's a sexist, right?
Ah.
And then now, like, there are so many old men and some young men think like, women underestimate women.
Yes.
And then now they see that those kind of men see that Mori is in the trouble. And then if those kind of thinking guy speak same thing, they know that they will be in trouble too. So it's good for them to, you guys are like old thinking.
So he's like a bad example, but an example. So
Right.
people look at him like, oh, let's not do that.
Yeah.
But he's not really in trouble, right? He's got in trouble in the media, but he's not lost his job or
No.
he's not had any punitive measures or anything. So
Because people are asking Suga to replace him.
Yeah.
But Suga knows that Morty is like really powerful.
Yeah.
So he's not doing anything about
But
it.
did you know that he's doing that job for 7 years with no money?
really,
Morty?
Yeah.
So is that why he's angry at women? Like what?
No. It's not that problem. I mean, that's nothing problem with it. But he's old guy and he made a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's apologized and I let him go.
My question is not okay. So in his case, let's say he says he's sorry, whatever. I mean, like Trump has said a lot of things and he didn't say sorry for any of it.
Okay.
But at the same time, I think most people in the world think that Trump is a bad leader and that was a mistake. Whereas I feel like in Japan, and this is what I really want to talk about today, leadership in Japan really seems to be this different concept from other countries.
Okay.
Like the leader is just the oldest guy. Whether or not he can do his job or whatever, it's
Right.
just the oldest guy. They're like, you're the leader now.
Right. He's probably doing nothing. He's
That's
just
what
a
I'm saying. He's
symbol.
just doing nothing.
Yeah.
So what the hell is a leader in Japan anyway?
Just a symbol. I don't know. because I assume that the things like important job, people around him is doing it,
Right.
right? So he's just a symbol.
So I was told once a long time ago, and I don't know if this is a phrase or something, but someone told me the shacho, the CEO that can't do anything, makes the best company because everybody's got to look after him and do the job that he's supposed to do, but they all have to work together to do the job.
Right.
So it makes a stronger company. But like a CEO that can do too many things, like an Elon Musk or a Steve Jobs, a too smart shacho, is bad for the company because then no one tries. I was like, that's ass backwards for how we think about it in the West.
What?
So like the more of a yokel, the more of like a can't do anything CEO you have in a company, the stronger the base becomes to support that guy. Is the concept.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in the West we think the strongest, most alpha male or female and like smartest, brightest person should be the CEO.
But it depends on companies in Japan
Okay.
because there are so many. I mean, not so many. There are many young shachos exist in the company, and they're doing leadership.
Yeah.
Right?
But there's also probably many, many more old guys who don't know what's going on with their company anymore.
Yeah.
It's a balance, I think, because there's like, it's particularly prevalent in kind of organizations that are run by local governments
Right.
and things like that. Those kind of organizations do have like older people at the top generally. But now a lot of companies do have young CEOs and they are doing kind of different stuff as well.
Right.
But Steve Jobs is an interesting example, right? Because he actually couldn't do a lot of the stuff that his company did. So he wasn't
the technical
a programmer,
stuff,
right? He wasn't techie, really. But he had the vision and the leadership. And he was like incredibly short-tempered and
Yeah, Steve Jobs
focused,
had
right?
a lot of problems, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
What about the president of the United States? He's old. He's
Biden.
Yeah.
yeah, Biden's old as shit, man.
Yeah.
Looks like he's gonna drop dead any minute.
So, okay, let's just like put that aside for a second because the elections in America are the problem. It's not that because it's like if you have a CEO or something like that, I think it's a lot easier to replace a CEO than it is for president. Problem is that the United States government election system is very, very old and it doesn't make any more sense, I don't think, for now. So it needs to be changed. But getting back to this guy who's like the top of the Olympics committee, he's just put there by Suga. Like he could be replaced. not put there by Suga, but he could be replaced by Suga.
Yeah.
So it's not a big election we're talking about. It's just like, pew.
Change
rid of
him.
him.
Somebody
Yeah.
else. Yeah.
But they won't. I don't think that they will.
Well, I think there's a lot of network capability as well with him, right? So even if he does make a gaffe and say something dumb, like, you know, he won't be removed from his position for that because he's got a strong network of other powerful people
Right.
who can support him.
Yeah.
And can actually do things when the Olympic Committee needs to make decisions and stuff like that.
And then also Olympics is almost there, so people don't want to change him.
Do you think the Olympics are going to happen?
I don't know. I hope it's going to happen, but I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
I'm going to let Alex go first.
So I've heard many things.
Yeah.
You've
I can't
heard.
say all of them.
Yeah.
But I reckon it's either going to be half capacity or online.
Half.
And I think they're the two options. Or cancelled, but I don't think that will happen.
There's been reports in at least Western media that behind doors that the Olympics have already been canceled. It's decided. They're just not saying it yet.
And then when the time comes, they say
They'll say it. There's reports of that. We don't know if that's accurate or not, but there have been reports of that. But
I heard from somebody else in related to an American broadcasting company that they really want it to go ahead because they've invested a lot of money in it.
right.
And the US is the major investor in the Olympics. If the US wasn't involved, we wouldn't be able to have the Olympics because they put that much money into it. So they want it to go ahead. So who knows?
because they will lose the money that
Right.
They've already lost billions of dollars, but
I
they'll
see.
lose even more if it goes just
Okay.
down the toilet.
Well, I mean, there's like if they did a poll in Tokyo, and I think it's like 70 or 80% of Tokyo people want the Olympics to be canceled.
yeah.
I think it's a difficult choice. I mean, it's just, I think if they extend it like 2 months to like October-ish, it'll be fine. Because then you can just vaccinate everybody.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine. I think it's just at that perfect time where it's just barely gonna maybe make it or maybe not make it.
Yeah.
When are we start vaccine in Japan?
Vaccination in Japan is supposed to happen at the end of February
February, this month.
or March. Dude, this is the estimate right now.
Right.
But I talked to a doctor who is part of the chain of like getting the vaccination out because for example the Pfizer vaccine needs to be really really cold. And so he's looking at all the infrastructure and stuff that they need to ship out the vaccine. And he's saying that like normal people will probably get vaccinated in May at the earliest.
I see. Earliest.
So that's 4 months from now.
So there's a bit of a worry that's going to meet the time for the Olympic. June, July, is it?
Yeah, July. But you
Yeah.
got to get all the people into the country
And
3 months
acclimatize.
before and
Yeah.
climatize them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Which
going to be tough.
You can do if you inoculated if you got them all vaccinated and shipped them over here and then put them in a little village where they sit there, which they usually do this anyways. Little Olympic village, and you just keep it shut.
Right.
I mean, it's doable. And if there's any country in the world that can make it all the paperwork and the bureaucracy necessary to make that function, it's Japan. They can do it.
Yeah. But it's still looking a bit dodgy, to
But
be fair.
do they have the leadership to do it? And that's what we're getting back to. We're getting back to the leadership.
Yeah, I mean, the leadership thing, it's slow. It's a slow process of like, consensus building, nemawashi, all that kind of stuff. And then, everybody decides. And there's a cool book, like a guy in Kagoshima who lives in Kagoshima wrote an English translation of called The Forgotten Japanese.
Okay.
And it talks about village meetings back in the day, like the olden days. It used to go on for like 3 days because everybody had to agree. Because if somebody didn't agree, they'd be ousted by the village and the family would starve to death, right? Because you have to make rice together.
Yeah.
So that's why this consensus building culture kind of exists, I guess. From that kind of agrarian society or whatever. But it's not helpful in modern society. You know what I mean? We don't need it anymore.
Well, I mean, there's actually a lot of history behind what you were just talking about. The growing of rice has really shaped a lot of cultures, especially the Japanese and Chinese culture. And that's why numbers are so much easier to understand in Chinese than they are in the Western countries, because they had to do a lot of like calculations back in the past, even farmers, because even if you screw up by a couple days, or something like that, planting your field, you would starve. So knowing how to plan for the future and know numbers was really important back in the day. So all of that and also that like consensus building, like having the village work together so everybody eats. It's true. It does go back to that.
Yeah. But, I mean, what's the other comment about women? I mean, what's he saying? Why is he picking on women all of a sudden in this environment? Because there aren't that many women in leadership positions in these councils anyway.
Yeah.
So who's he singling out exactly is what I want to know.
Well, I think what it is, I think that the women are just seen as these others. And then so whenever there's a problem, you just like pick on the others, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there was another stupid comment made by Kato Kanji, I guess his name. He's like, he was telling people like, if, you know, women who don't do their duty of having at least 3 children is like their job. And so those 3 children can grow up and pay taxes and stuff like that. Yeah. So he's saying this and you're like, he's trying to blame the poor economy on women.
But the problem is there's no support system for women who want to go
and
back to work.
Yeah, and
right?
who makes a support system? The guys on top who
Yeah.
don't want to, you know what I mean?
Because they cannot imagine the real situation, right?
Right.
That's why they haven't set up the good system for women. That's why we cannot have babies.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, like, dude, if you look at during the bubble period and after World War II, there was lots and lots of babies happening. Why? Because it was easy and not so expensive, and you could do it. It was, you know, it was possible. These days, 1 kid is so expensive in Japan.
Yeah.
And then you say have 3 kids, and like the parents are thinking, how
Yeah.
do we make this work?
And go back to work as well.
Right.
You know, where do you put your kids? You know,
Yeah.
where's the support system?
And
You
like
know?
just like home life in Japan, just like the system of being like raising a family in Japan is not made for convenience.
No.
Like you have to go to the grocery store like 2 or 3 times a week. In America, we go to the grocery store every like 10 days. We just get a bunch of stuff, put it in your fridge or pantry. You can keep it for a long time.
Yeah.
But a lot of Japanese food, it requires fresh ingredients. And they don't have big refrigerators. They don't have big pantries. So you have to go constantly. So who has to do that? The wife does that mostly.
That was all weird, man. Going to the supermarket every day with those tiny baskets.
Yeah.
I still don't get used to that. It's weird,
I
man.
see. I never think that way, but that's true.
And then you look at the number of dishwashers in Japan. Almost all families in Japan don't own a dishwasher.
Yeah.
So if you just think about that one little convenience that we have in every single, even the cheapest apartments in America have a dishwasher. And that little convenience,
Apartments.
yeah.
Huh.
So you just put the dishes in the dishwasher, press a button. That saves you 45 minutes to an hour every single day.
Right.
Now put on top of that drying laundry. In Japan, everybody hang dries their laundry. Almost no one has a dryer.
Yeah.
In America, everybody just puts it in the wash and they put it in the dryer. And on top of that, they're large capacity, so you get it done in one go.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
then it's
God.
done. In Japan,
Right.
it's like a whole day thing, like little by little, to like do housework.
To be honest,
Right.
though, in the regions especially, I think women do not help each other as well.
That's
there's
true.
a lot of pulling each other down, you know. So things like PTA meetings or Chonaikai, the kind of residents associations, they have all these stupid jobs that they say you have to do. So there's one thing called berumaku, you know, the stickers. Like the little, on some products, there's a little bell-shaped diagram or whatever. They cut that out and then give it to the school. And then the school can send them off for supplies like, you know, pencils and rulers and stuff
Right.
from the company.
Right.
So I'm like, well, why don't you just do it digitally? So you don't actually have to cut them all out.
Still no.
You know.
Oh.
And if you don't do it,
I
the
used
other
to-
mothers complain and say you're a bitch because you've
Really?
not joined
And then,
in.
yeah, and then you get shamed.
I
Yeah.
used to do it when I was a kid, but
Yeah.
still exists.
Yeah,
Oh.
still got it.
Wait until your daughter's old enough to have a PTA. Then
Yeah.
all the fun starts.
Yeah.
Right.
So recently some dads go along as well.
Yeah.
But I mean I don't do it. Like Santa does it. Like that. But you know, it's like just the amount of work that's there is just totally unnecessary. And it's just interfering with their lives. You know, it's hard to go back to work. If you do work full time, you say, I'm sorry, I can't come to the PTA meeting. I've got work. I can't take time off. Maybe you earn more than your husband does, so you can't go.
Right.
They go, you know, you don't take part in all these things for your child. You're a bad mother.
Right.
And that's other women saying that.
Right.
So, you know, that culture needs to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
But
And then also there's like, that's like family life. If you have a woman who's in a company, this happens a little bit in the West too, but more so in Japan, a confident, strong woman who expresses herself in a company, almost always that woman will be like shunned.
yeah.
She's like like no one's going to talk to her. Whereas if a man did that, a lot of people would be like, oh, this guy, he's trying his best. He's really working hard.
Yeah.
Same exact input, 2 different outputs, you know?
I think the way that companies are structured there, you've got to be disagreeable to get up the ladder.
In
right?
Japan anyways.
Yeah, I think any country,
Yeah.
right? You've got to be a bit disagreeable to get what you want. Otherwise, people walk all over you.
Yeah.
But if women do that, it's seen as being different to when a man does it, right?
Right.
So there needs to be a change in the way of thinking as to how women approach work as well, and how men approach work. It doesn't have to be the same, but they can get the same results or similar results.
But I kind of come down on both sides of this one because I employ both women and men, and I'll tell you, it's way easier to give a large workload to a man and say do this, and then get down on him when he doesn't do it. If I do that to a woman, I feel like a bad dude. Now this is again sexism within myself. But if I give one of my female staff a large job to do, I start to feel sorry for them. I don't know why. Maybe it's like I don't know what it is. And then if I push them too hard, I feel sorry for them. Whereas if it's a dude, I'm like, dude, you got to do this. You're a man. You got to man up to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I know that this is part of my sexist, like, what is it? Not privilege, but this is part of who I am. And I have to like think about this when I'm doling out responsibilities to people. Can't be too easy on the girls, can't be too hard on the guys kind of thing.
But there are differences between the sexes. I mean, you can't just say that everybody is the same and they're going to get the same results. It doesn't work like that. That's just like a stupid way of thinking.
It's true.
So maybe there's like women are better at multitasking and doing different tasks at the same time.
But this is generally, right?
Yeah.
Not every woman is good at multitasking.
That's
Not
true.
every man is bad at multitasking. But generally, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So just the approach towards it. I mean, there's this woman called Cynthia Usui who lives in Tokyo, and she was a stay-at-home mother. And then when she raised the kids and sent them off to uni or whatever, she went back to work, and she did some really elite kind of positions after that as well. And there was an NHK drama made about her life as well. But she was saying that, motherhood itself should be on your CV because it teaches you all kinds of skills like communication, task delegation, task management, creativity. And like people in society don't recognize that as a skill. They just say you were a stay-home mum, you didn't do anything. But she was saying, no, that's not true. It taught me loads of different things. Budget management for the household.
Don't you agree that in the West, maybe we don't value child rearing and being a mom as high as we do being a career woman?
I think that's probably true as
Hillary
well.
Clinton got in trouble for this, kind of making fun of a working mom, like, oh, you're just a mom kind of attitude.
Yeah.
And that, I don't think that's, I mean, again, this goes back to like, can we have stay-at-home dads? I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, why
if you want to be, if your wife makes a ton of money and she's a career woman and you like kids and you want to be a stay-at-home dad, good.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Do it.
I don't care.
But it's like, just the choice, right?
Yeah.
You just want the choice. So, yeah.
But in Japan, women need to be change our mind too.
Yeah.
Like women, like many of my friends, they don't ask their husband to help her. I mean, so they need to change their mind too. Like, give them a job, household job. But それが問題でもある。
There's also the whole idea of like if you expect the man to earn all of the money and then to do the job and everything, and then the woman just stays at home, then she's supposed to take care of the family. This is like the ideal marriage for I think like 70% of Japanese women.
70?
I think it's 70%. Like they don't want to be the primary income in the house. They want the husband to do that. They want to take care of the family. Maybe they do like a part-time job or something like that. If that's their expectation, and then that's the way that everybody's thinking. Well, bosses in companies look at the men. Okay, I do this too. I'm looking at Josh right in front of me, right? Okay, he's a young guy. I'm thinking one day he's going to get married. He's going to have to take care of kids. So I have to work with him to create a career path for him that makes sense. That's going to end up with some, large scale income, more responsibility, where more of the family's financial stability comes from him. If there was a girl named, like what's the female version of Josh? We don't want to say
Josh
that one.
Anna.
Josh Anna, who's like 28 or 29. I wouldn't have that conversation with her just because I would think like at one point you're going to want to start a family, which is going to mostly take you out of the job market, if just temporarily. And then maybe that they're, again, this is just my own sexism, but like I would probably not have that conversation. I would not do that kind of strategic career planning with them. And if you're a woman and you're getting like assholes like me that don't think of you as being on a career path, then the opportunities are also fewer and far between, right?
Yeah. But I suppose you've got to plan that out yourself as well and fix your own boundaries. And I think I spoke to some Japanese women about like Western women coming to Japan and saying, you guys need to change this, that, and the other about your own society. It's f***ed up and things like that. And the Japanese women are going, yeah, well, what do you know about it? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's up to us to change it if we want to change it. It's not like we can't change it.
Do you think that the Western women in this case have like a position of authority to speak from, or do you think that both sides have merit? And I think that the true answer is some mixture between.
I think if you've got a different opinion, if you've got a different perspective, it's always helpful because you can see things that you would have taken for granted otherwise and point out what's wrong with them. But at the same time, if you don't understand the deep cultural nuances behind the why Japan is like it is, you can't really say. So it's all well and good to say like, well, you should go and work as soon as your kid's born. But some people find more value in raising children. Some women do, some men do. And it's their choice.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But at the same time, you shouldn't undersell yourself and think, well, I can't do this job because I'm a woman, or not be given the opportunity to do so. So it's just, up to personal choice, really. But you shouldn't really come into somebody else's culture and start telling them how to do stuff because nobody's going to listen to you.
Right.
Unless you understand it really well.
Well, I think a lot of like arrogant Westerners do that, unfortunately.
I do it a bit.
Natsuki, I want to ask you about this. In Tokyo, there was a scandal. I think I forgot what school it was, but one of the universities in Tokyo were actually like changing the numbers of the entrance so that more men got into the program and less women. Medical school. Because the administration said all the women doctors quit and they don't stay being doctors for the rest of their career, so we don't want them.
Right.
What do you think about that?
That's so stupid, of course. And yeah, because, there were some women students who were supposed to get in, but they couldn't because they are women, right?
Right.
That's not fair. No, that's not fair.
Do you think that the administration has a good point when they say the women will eventually retire early and so they won't continue being a doctor, so their education is a waste? Do you believe in that?
No. But the other hand, my doctor friend said that's kind of true.
Okay.
So she admitted that women are quitting. The women's doctor are quitting from the stage. From the
position.
Yeah, her position. So that's becoming a problem. It's the fact.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I cannot blame them 100%.
So, I think Alex is seeing the solution to this. I think in the West, we would just make it better or easier for a female doctor to work.
Yeah.
Right. Give her a support system where she can do, her rounds for the day and then also be a mom. Right. Why is it an either or choice?
Well, I mean, now with technology, you can do it from home, right? There's all
especially
kinds
after the pandemic.
Yeah, there's all kinds of options to do, like just discussion or something like that about people's symptoms online, from a remote location or whatever. There's all kinds of different jobs out there. But I mean, there is the question that are men more competitive than women generally anyway, right? And I think they probably are, more disagreeable, more competitive. And that tends to work better in a corporate environment.
Yeah.
But it just depends whether the corporate environment is the correct environment or not, right?
Yeah, it comes down to how good is capitalism, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about going back to leadership. Let's talk about leaders. We've talked about it before. The Tokyo governor, mayor.
大阪じゃない？
違う。女性の方。
小池?
Koike.
Yeah,
She's
Tokyo,
like
yeah.
Tokyo mayor, governor?
Governor.
Yeah.
She's great, right? Like she shows leadership. She has those kind of like, she's strong, but she's not too strong. I think she's a good mixture of being a woman and being a leader. The top of New Zealand, the prime minister there, Merkel, also is like, we see these strong women all around the world. They're doing a great job, especially in government.
I don't know if Merkel's doing a great job, but go on.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm comparing her to the last 4 years of Trump.
Right, okay.
So I think she's doing
anybody's doing a great job. Anybody's doing a great job.
But I think women have shown that they can be leaders all around the world. And, I'm wondering if that leadership roles in Japan could use more women.
Probably, yeah. I mean, women can be leaders and they can be great leaders,
right.
Same as men. And just because they're a woman in charge doesn't mean they're doing a good job. So I disagree about Merkel particularly, but, there should be opportunities for people to rise to those positions equally, right? They should be given the same chances, but at the end of the day, the most skilled person should be there, whether that's a man or a woman, doesn't matter. And I think doing it by count of people, like how many men there are, how many women there are, isn't the correct way to do it.
I don't agree with that, but I do think that there should be a mixture
Yeah.
as a natural
Oh, yeah.
mixture.
Yeah.
Especially since the population is what, 52%, 53% female in Japan?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's not 50-50.
So I mean, like, if you're representing, you know, half the population, you should have a voice in there, right?
Right.
Yeah. You know.
I wanted to quota thing going to happen.
Quota.
Yeah, in the I mean なんだっけ政治のところでも会社のところで
Yeah.
も。
I don't think quota's a good idea.
No.
I'm 50-50 with this because I think that in the beginning, the first steps, you need a quota just to make it happen.
Right.
Then after that, it could be natural. But if the guys have had an advantage, a natural advantage for like the last 1,000 years, all of a sudden you'd be like, okay, now everything's even. I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think men have necessarily had a natural advantage, but
Because if we don't do that, it's never going to happen. You know, equal men and women, equal number,
Yeah.
never going to happen, I guess.
well, for me, being a staunch capitalist, I suppose, like I don't know, my views would be conservative anarchist. I think I'd describe myself as whatever.
Conservative anarchist. You don't like rules,
Yeah,
but you want to keep tradition.
yeah. There we go. So yeah, it's
There you go.
confusing. It's confusing, but I think giving everybody the same opportunity is a good thing, but setting quotas, because the problem with quotas is then you've just got to get any woman in or any other person in,
But
right?
of course, they have to be smart, right?
Yeah.
If you
Don't
didn't want to.
lower the bar.
Yeah.
If you're going to cut those people after a year or 6 months, if they suck, then fine.
Ah,
Okay.
yeah,
Quotas are fine.
You need a rule. We need a
Let's
rule.
try.
But
You got 6 months.
it's Japan,
Or a
it's not
year.
going to work, right? So,
Or 3 years.
you know, I think it's all about getting good people into the right position.
Right.
That's more important than somebody's feelings, in my opinion.
That's true. I do believe that qualifications are the most important thing. But I also think that the way of thinking about women as being potential leaders just needs to change.
Oh, yeah.
And going back to my initial prompt, my initial question here, I think the idea of leadership in Japan is just weird because it just seems to be like Natsuki said, he's the oldest, so here he's the leader, and the rest of us are the younger. So we're just gonna crowd around him while he sits on a rock. I'm like, no, we've advanced beyond that. So it's not just the oldest guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But what's weird is still some politicians, make him, admire him, make him that he is very important person.
Right. That's the thing is it's all about personality building,
Yeah.
right? They make them this legendary. I mean, this happens in America too, but they make them these like legends. Like they're not even dead yet. They're building statues, and you're just like, this guy does like. Okay, I bring back the top cybersecurity guy. Who was like answering questions to report, I think, on the floor of the Diet or something like that. And like he was talking about cybersecurity, and a lot of the things that he was saying were wrong. And they were like, do you even know what you're talking about? He's like, no, I don't even own a computer.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, why the hell are you there? What are you
Right,
doing
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
Right.
He's just a figurehead. He doesn't know what's going on.
But it's good that people are talking about bad things on the news. I mean, Mr. Mori's, Hatsuge was very bad.
Yeah.
What he was saying was very bad on the news. So we admit that he is wrong, and then we think, and then that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
this is like very, very Japanese thing to do is like make a mistake, whether on purpose or not, and then just apologize and it's all good. So MacArthur said this when Japan lost the Second World War.
We're going back that far, guys.
Going back that far. He said the Japanese just think you can bow your head, apologize, and everything's okay. And he goes, well, it doesn't work like that. It's something along those lines, that kind of quote.
So
And-
what was a good decision to make? Do you think he should quit his job?
I think he should retire and go live in a house somewhere and shut up. I mean, like, he's 100 years old.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
Yeah, I can't understand why he's been
It's his pride.
Chosen.
It's his pride, and the people around him are really making the decisions, are hiding behind him. He's not probably making any decisions. The people around him are controlling him, probably.
Right, maybe.
And then they don't want to be blamed for anything, so they put him in front.
Well, the Olympics, basically, right? It's the kind of epitome of fair play,
Yeah.
equality for all. Everybody can compete.
And this year, especially with the
And then-
the Paralympics, and having more and more females and women in the Olympics this year was like a big push for it.
Yeah.
Equality.
So the person in charge of that shouldn't be saying shit like that, right?
Right.
So in that way of thinking, he probably should be replaced, But then again, it's a couple of months before. And maybe they think, well, it's going to get cancelled anyway. I don't
Yeah.
know. No idea.
Mr. Moore, by the way, Mr. Moore is the reason why we could have a rugby World Cup in Japan.
See, when you guys do that, I don't know if that's true or not. Is it Mr. Mori or is it the people around Mr. Mori and then he read a script?
Maybe. I don't know.
You know
I
what
don't
I mean?
know.
He's
yeah.
like, someone wrote this, I'm going to read this now, and I'm going to smile and leave and go eat it in izakaya. I really feel that they don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
They're so old. You can't be 100 years old and have a clear understanding of what's happening in today's world.
Well, there is a kind of reluctance to pass on the reins of power to the next generation here.
Yeah.
So there's this, number one, there's like this lifting up of leaders to this pedestal.
And they're getting stuck
Yeah.
at this like glass ceiling.
Yeah. And then there's no passing over to the next generation. So
Right.
people are in their 80s. Really, somebody in the 60s might be doing it, or the 40s, you know. That's like 40 years younger than him.
Yeah, dude. If you're
Yeah.
if your second in command is 40 and you're 85, that's 45 years. I'm not even 45 years old.
Yeah.
That's bigger than my entire lifetime.
Yeah.
Gap. These people were around during the war, and like, if you honestly ask them detailed questions about technology or about like worldwide politics, they have no idea what's going on. But they're the leaders.
But, you know, I think that a lot of it is behind one's position and status, and the other one is the idea of wisdom, so that they've got some kind of life wisdom that they can
So
pass
have
on.
them as a
But-
consultant.
Yeah, as a consultant on the side, right? Yeah. No, I see it all the time as well, like in regional matters as well. There's always some person at the top who's been put in that position who doesn't really have any great leadership skill, but they've been in the game so long, they've got a network of contacts that supports them. And when they want to get something done, they defer to that network of contacts and the
Right.
people below them to sort it out. And then they take the, you know, respect from all the, you know, work that went on. So it's just a weird system.
So I was in a government position before. I'm not going to rat out who this was because they've all been forcefully retired. But I was sitting in a meeting once, and I had this like 83-year-old head of the government group that we are in. Okay, and they're all discussing something, and it's a pretty important matter. And then they go to like the chairman, and they're like, "What are your thoughts on this?" I swear to God, this is what happened. This dude who hasn't been paying attention throughout the entire meeting. He's 83. He could give a. He goes, "You know what I think? I think that every morning, if you eat a banana," I'm not making this up. I'm not fucking making this up. He said, "Every morning, if you eat a banana, you get really, really genki, and you feel energetic and energized." And he's like, "If you do that, everything just looks better." And then he just kind of faded away with his conversation.
And what was the people's reaction?
Like the reaction was like, "Of course he said that."
Were they writing it down?
No, they were just like, "Of
They
course,
praised?
of course he said that. Let's move on to the next topic."
like ignore?
Yeah, and I was just looking at this dude, and I was like, "Why the is he getting paid to do this job? He doesn't know what's happening."
He was probably like having a stroke while he was saying it,
I
right?
swear to God, I thought
Yeah,
that.
right.
And I was just looking at this, and at the time, I think I was 24 years old, so I'm thinking, I'm like, what the hell?
He wasn't leaning over to one side while he was doing
No,
it.
but
It was
he
kinda-
did have his breakfast still in his teeth.
Oh, right, okay.
And like every day,
Banana.
banana. And it was like every day, and like he would spit on you when he'd talk to you. And so I just remember thinking, like, why does this guy have a job? And then what they did is they consolidated all the nearby local governments into one government, and all those people were forcibly retired.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, so they have to do these like roundabout bureaucratic moves to get rid of these people, right?
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, I love this. This
Well,
is
there's a lot of amakudari as well, you know, the golden parachute.
Yeah.
So when they finish one position at a company, they quit, retire, whatever, and then they get given a nice cushy position at a
like
local
a
government
ceremonial position.
Yeah.
Is amakudari in English golden parachute?
thing. Yeah.
You could say it that way, yeah.
We don't really have it, I don't think. Not so much.
I think we just call it cronyism. Good
Yeah.
old cronyism in
Yeah.
America. But yeah.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of nepotism as well, to be honest.
Nepotism is the biggest problem I think that faces most Japanese companies is that, well, why do you assume that the son of the father is the most qualified person to run a company? Like,
Yeah.
what's the assumption there?
Well, I think there's tradition, like handing it on to the next generation.
That makes
But
sense
as
if
you
you
said, it doesn't.
That makes sense
necessarily
if you
mean
make
they're good.
pottery or swords, right? Where
Yeah.
it's a craft that doesn't really change over the hundreds of years.
Yeah.
But if you're like constantly evolving and getting bigger as a company, the guy with the most credentials should become CEO, not the son of the father.
Yeah, there's a lot of nandaime. So we're the third generation or fourth generation. They're super proud of it, but like, you know,
Well, like so many Kagoshima companies are some like that.
What do they say? They say like the first the creator, the founder of the company makes the company, and then it's like Sandaime Shacho wa Subusu, like the third CEO in line destroys the company.
Yeah.
Why is that a saying if it's not kind of true? But anyway, what was it? The oldest company in Japan went under during the financial meltdown of 2008. It was like a ryokan or something in, I think, Honshu or something. And like it was like the 30th generational CEO or owner or something like that. And he had no idea what he was doing, and he just went out of business. Like I think it was the world's oldest company or something like that. It's just gone. Yeah.
Wow. Mind you, things with history last though. That is another thing. Generally, anyway.
If it's made to be a historical thing, that's fine. If you're in a technology or information technology business, you shouldn't just give the reins to your son.
Yeah.
So maybe the sun is just a symbol, and then
That's what we're going back to. It's a symbol.
Yeah, because he's just there. He needs to be there. Blood things.
I mean, it's the same with the presidency, though, in the US. Like, they don't make that many decisions, I don't think.
No, they do. No, because their biggest thing, they do executive orders. They provide the nominations for the Supreme Court. They control the military. I mean, we were scared about this with Trump because they were like, this dude has the nuclear codes. Should we put in And I remember the news talking about generals explaining to Trump, like in a very childlike way, no, you can't just nuke countries. Like, that's not something, but they have to convince him to do it.
Right.
Because the power is still his to make the decision.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful position.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens in the prime minister position in other countries.
Yeah, maybe not, yeah.
Yeah.
But
scary.
Anyway, it was scary, but it's okay. Now our new president, he's asleep all the time, so he's not gonna make any wars.
Well, that's the same as like Japanese businessmen, though. They get into a meeting and fall asleat like that. There's so many people
They're
sleeping.
so good at it too. They
Like
could just
sitting like this.
Yeah.
We should all do that for like 5 minutes. Yeah. Great content.
All right, guys, we need to wrap the show up, but I want you guys at home to give us comments on what you think about anything that we said in this show. If you guys know of any really successful, young, bright leaders out there in Japan that maybe we don't know about, let us know, highlight them. If you know a guy that tells you to eat a banana for breakfast in his 80s who shouldn't be in his position, you can tell us that story too. Yeah.
Osaka mayor is young, and he's a good leadership, I think.
The new one.
The new one.
Yeah. I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm just saying that there's a lot of old bad ones that I don't know why they're there anymore.
Yeah.
That's my position. And Alex, your position is?
Similar. Same. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of old people, but there are some young people out there doing good work as well. But I don't like just pushing people up onto a pedestal and just leaving them there regardless of what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not into that at all.
I'm with that, especially with nepotism. Don't do that with nepotism. Give it to the person who's most qualified.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I hope there's a 2021 Olympics, even if it is online. We'll see.
Yep. See all the minor sports together.
See all the minor... You have such a negative opinion of the Olympics.
I know it's not a negative opinion. It's just like, it is like a collection of minor sports. Like, nobody goes to watch running, do they? Who goes to watch that?
The best part of the Olympics, Alex, is drinking in a bar, which I guess we won't be able to probably do, and watching it on TV and going, that's a sport?
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
Like, I can't think of any minor. Shooting is quite minor. I thought shooting would be cool, but...
Triathlon includes what? Skiing and shooting a rifle? It's like... Or whatever that is.
Is that triathlon?
Whatever it is. See, I don't even know. Like, I'm like, why is this a sport? And the curling? What does the sweeping even do?
I don't know. I think they're just doing that as like a bit of a flourish. Doesn't do anything.
Josh has a comment. He's like, duh, don't you know? Do you know what the sweeping does?
Yeah. They're I can't think of like how to say this properly, but
Are they influencing the direction?
They're clearing the ice so that it can go farther, and also if they do it like to the left or to the right of it, it goes in that direction because it's the easier path.
So it's an
to slide
adjustment.
on. Yeah.
It's like for somebody who couldn't build a bowling alley. So they were like, oh shit, we live in Alaska. We don't have a bowling alley. What
Well, we
can
got
we do?
stones. Let's throw stones.
Let's just slide some stones about. And hey, there's a brush there. Why don't you use that? You know.
Japanese team got a medal last Olympic, right?
Yeah, who
Silver?
cares?
So if your country is known for being the top for curling, you should keep that to yourself. Like
I can't remember gold or silver.
one cultural difference is ping pong is like super huge in Asia.
Yeah.
Like, people get on about that shit. I think I've never even thought about that once in America.
It's weird. Ping pong is not a sport to me. It's like some kind of nerd activity.
It's the
Oh
thing
my
that
God.
Forrest Gump got really good at. That's the
It's
only thing
a
I know
good
about
It's
it.
sport.
British.
It's a
It's a
good
British
sport.
invention.
What's the popular game in America then?
Swimming and
swimming, running.
Running.
No, the really popular sports like American football or
Ah,
baseball.
it's not even
okay,
in
but when you
Olympics.
watch that with the all-star teams and stuff like that, it's just you watch it to see how they're gonna fight with each other.
Yeah.
Because they're all trying to be the hero, and you're just like, you guys suck. women's basketball, was it? Women's soccer, was it? The American team was really good or something. I don't know. I don't watch the Olympics.
Yeah. The popular sports are your football, rugby, you know,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, tennis. And then
Yeah,
there's the Olympic
tennis.
sports like shooting and javelin.
So
and,
why America keep
don't know.
investigating Olympics?
Investing because it's good TV.
TV.
Because you're
Yeah.
cheering for your country. It doesn't matter what it is, even if it's curling.
Well, that's why it's once every 4 years, right? That's why.
Yeah, because people will get bored of
If it
it.
was every year, you'd be like, nah, not watching that.
All right, guys, that's what our show today. Again, leave us a comment below. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed to us. We really, really do appreciate those who subscribe to us. And, you know, well, I'm going to say like a YouTuber, smash that like button. I hate it when they say that.
Yeah. Subscribe, click the bell.
But it really gives us like that motivation that we need to keep making these shows for you guys. So please subscribe and please hit that like button. All right. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye bye.
Hey guys, Josh here. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Small Talk Japan. Small Talk Japan is filmed and recorded in Kagoshima at Story Studios. This week's episode stars Mitch, Natsuki, and Alex, and is produced by me, Josh. The executive producer is Mitch, and hair services done by Drops Temonkan. This podcast is brought to you in part by Stapleton A. Kaiwa. Leave us a comment below and let us know what you think. Thanks again for watching, and if you enjoyed the show, click here to subscribe and click here to watch more. See ya!